Confronting evil. I'm Brian Lilley with TheRebel.media. I don't know about you, but I'm horrified at what I saw happen in Charleston, South Carolina the other day. Dylan Roof, a 21-year-old man, going into historically black church and shooting 9 people. This after he'd sat with them for an hour in Bible study, in prayer. You don't have to be religious to know that going into a house of God like that, even if you don't believe in God, going into a place of prayer, a place where people have welcomed you in and perpetrating acts of violence on them, killing them in cold blood, truly is evil. Roof, who's since been captured, taken into custody, appeared in court. Police investigators said he told them he wanted to start a race war. Here is the good news, for whatever amount of good news we can get out of what happened in Charleston. He's not getting his wish, at least not so far. The shooting happened Wednesday night. It's Friday afternoon. I have not heard of riots taking place. I have not heard of race riots, race warfare happening in South Carolina. It may happen elsewhere, but right now it's not happening in Charleston. Instead, what I'm seeing in news reports is a community, black and white, coming together and saying there's got to be a way forward. People are talking about problems, absolutely. People are talking about racism, which clearly drove this man in his evil acts, but instead of people going at each other, trying to rip each other apart, they're coming together. And I can't help but say that is a good thing. That is the way forward. Instead of division, harmony, unity. The truly amazing thing that I saw was the son and daughter of one of the victims, Sharonda Singleton. She's a speech therapist at a local high school, an athletics coach. Her son Chris, daughter Cameron, telling the media that while it's hard, they forgive Dylan Roof for what he did, for taking their mother's life.
We forgive. That's one thing we're going to do. We forgive right now for everything that's happened. She's the best mom I've ever could even ask for, and honestly, it's going to be tough, but I know we'll get through it as a family.
And that's what she would want. And I know she's in a good place right now.
It's the Christian thing to do, and they are obviously Christians. Their mother being killed in a prayer meeting, in the midst of a Bible study. And in doing what they're doing, they're living out the faith they profess. I can tell you it would be very difficult for me to do the same. It might be what we're called to do, but it would be difficult for me to do the same. My hope, my prayer for Charleston over the coming days is that there is more of that and less of what we've seen in places like Ferguson and Baltimore, and that maybe the racial divisions that have hampered the United States over the last several months, the last several years, might begin to heal from the example of Charleston. Race is a touchy subject, I get it. I don't understand it being the source of division, not in this day and age. Maybe that's because for whatever else he said, whatever else he did, I believe the message that Martin Luther King Jr. took to the steps of the Lincoln Memorial on August 28th, all those years ago.
Because I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character.
If we judge people by the content of their character, then Chris and Cameron Singleton are showing tremendous character. Dylan Roof is showing evil. We need to recognize people for what they are, how they act, not what label we put on them, regardless of race. It's been funny watching the media deal with this. A lot of them just very quickly jumping to white man kills black people in church. All very true. But this coming the week after a lot of media were trying to spin this white woman being chair of the NAACP and saying race didn't matter, but suddenly it did. Look, race shouldn't matter. It exists, but it shouldn't matter in terms of how we divide ourselves. It shouldn't matter. It still does. That's the thing that we need to overcome. And maybe the reaction of the people of Charleston will help all of us overcome that. in the weeks and months ahead.